Hello and welcome everyone, this is 5-Star General.
I'm Lord Lokgar.
And today we have with us our great guest. Come on,
Oh, am I
you want
supposed
to
to speak
talk?
here?
Yes, go ahead and talk.
OlBloodNGutz from Learn to Play.
Yes, ye old blood and guts. The main guy behind Learn to Play, Project Learn to Play, which has been an organization. Well, actually, I'll let you talk about that.
Well, we're a Steam group as well as a website, and really just a community of people who are trying to service the newbies of the community, get them to scale that sheer cliff that is the Dawn of War 2, skill ceiling, try to get them into competitions and hopefully breathe new life into the game. So
what's your where can people go to find you guys?
Well, we have a website at www.projectlearntoplay.com. That's a project L2P. You don't have to type out the actual word. We have links to our Steam group there. You can just swing by the forums, ask questions, look for mentors. We have guides going up in our new wiki section, just all sorts of stuff going on. So,
Awesome. So,
On a related note, I am looking for a mentee who mains in the Tyranid race, so get in touch with me. I do have an account on GameRepo, so I'm going to make an account on the... if you go to the Project Learn to Play Steam page, I'm on there. I'm usually in the group chat, so you can hit me up through that too. And I'll be making a post in the Learn to Play forums. You can respond to that.
yeah, so how would any other mentors go about finding mentees or just kind of getting involved?
well, in general, we're not very structured in that we have one mentee to one mentor or anything like that. We try to keep people involved through the group chat. We have regular pickup games that get announced over the Steam group, so people can join in, receive help from a mentor who just happens to find the time to help. They can go onto the website, ask questions, same as the group chat. It's really just an amalgamation of people that are looking to help out, so, not super structured, but everyone's willing to help. So, that's the way to do it. Just meet the people and ask around.
Awesome, yeah, because, I personally loved the idea of this group when you first began talking about it and you first began pitching it, because it was always one of those things where Dawn of War 2, as much as people, when they initially see it and they initially hear about the concept and such, think, oh, that game is so simple, you only control like 6-7 squads at max, right? And then it's like, no, it's actually an incredibly tough game to get into, because just all of the elements of skill are so subtle at times, and even there's this huge macro component in the game. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time on the dailies, but when you first jump into the
Dawn
game,
of War 2 radio.
yeah, on that. When we go off on verbal walls of text, but or I do, but it's just kind of one of those things. You don't necessarily immediately pick up on it, and certainly it's not one of the first things you're thinking of either when you're playing a game like Dawn of War 2.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people come into the game, play a few games, just get completely stomped and base raped, throw down the keyboard and mouse, and just never come back. And that's something Learn to Play is trying to undo. Try to make up for the lack of tooltips, the lack of a tutorial in game, and just try to ease people into it.
Oh, speaking of the lack of tooltips, I probably should mention that Caleris has gotten his latest detailed tooltips mod out. This is a mod that you basically insert into your game, and it replaces like almost all the tooltips, like almost all the descriptions of weapons and whatever else. It just replaces like everything. It's really, really awesome. Let me actually.
It has my seal of approval for anyone wondering. It details like exact damage values too.
Yeah.
And like buffs and exact values. It's something that you'll see on the earlier dailies. Me and Taryn always confuse values around for buffs and whatnot, and the detailed tooltip mod basically takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, it tells you exactly what is going on with everything, all the damage types and such even. But you'll probably, I know you guys have been asking for it. We'll have a daily with damage types. Don't worry, we'll go over it. But right now we've been doing some other stuff. We will get into. I've gotten requests for an orc daily as well, so we'll work on that. But yeah, so right now we're here. We're gonna actually have some learn to play show matches, but we will get you guys the link for the detailed tooltips mod probably at the end of the broadcast, because that is like that will improve your play just a lot just by having that in there to always be able to go. I'm not sure what this does, why this happens. It actually makes you try new things just because you were able to see like the full picture on them and go like, oh, I can see how to use this in an instance where I didn't think I would be able to use it before. So anyway, Blood and Guts, you want to talk about the two players we have in here, or?
We got two mentees from the Learn to Play chat here. Also, if anyone's listening who's in the group already, if you want to get into this event, just swing by the group chat and just say you're willing to participate, and we'll let you right in. So these both are fairly new players. Piggy's been around for a while. He's progressed nicely. I don't know Pickles personally, but he was nice enough to join in, so we'll see how this goes.
Alright, so we do seem to be ready on that front. Everyone seems to be ready. Pickles is ready. Piggy's Go Moo is ready. I'm wondering if Pickles is Death Clock reference, or if that's just kind of like Pickles, the Pickles.
Or the Rugrats, they had a character named last name
yes,
Pickles.
Dill Pickles.
Yes, Dill Pickles.
Tommy Pickles and the entire family of Pickles. But
and Grandpa Pickles.
I said the entire family of Pickles. What are you trying to do, Lokgar?
I mean, he's kind of leagues ahead of the rest of the family. He's sort of the war boss. You kind of have to mention him by himself.
Yeah, I suppose. Walking 15 miles to school and 15 miles everywhere. It was always 15 miles.
Always.
Did he ever die? Because that show's been on for like a decade. He could be dead by now.
I don't know. I stopped watching sometime around. But, quite
don't
a few
lie,
years
don't
ago.
lie. You know every single episode.
Oh, totally.
They're all on Netflix. I confess I have seen many of them.
Yes, I know every single episode and all of the all-grown up ones too. Nah, JK.
I forgot about that series. Oh god.
Not the only one. Alright, so we have Pickle spawning in the top left corner and Piggy's Go Moo in the bottom right. So, what ideas do you think that, OlBloodNGutz, like what kind of build orders would you be looking at here, or what would you be focusing on at this stage of the game?
Well, for the mech, I'm expecting at least a double shooter, but he looks like he's going double slugger regardless, probably to maybe counter those Banshees, but with the buffed Farseer. You know, Farseer buffing those Shees, that might not be the best idea.
Yeah.
We got the Shees are idling at base there. Finally got them moving. I usually suggest to my mentees to set a rally point somewhere out on the field, just so your guys get moving as soon as they spawn, just to save you some time. Give them general cap orders after the fact, but just get them moving right from the start. Don't want to waste any time.
Yeah, I agree. Every second your units are moving is money, basically. I think me and Taryn Up have been over how everything equals money in this game. But just a little bit, just even a rally point just outside to your natural power point or whatever will save you a lot in the long run.
Absolutely.
So just a couple of micro questions, because actually these guys are doing a pretty good job of staying on top of their capping squads and stuff, but there have been a couple times I noticed, particularly Pickles, you know, finish capping and then not have something moving immediately, so it kind of indicates to me he's not using shift click too much with that, you know, for capping. But as far as so like, do you guys go ahead and focus on like shift click, and also like especially at Retribution now you have Overwatch? Do you use Overwatch at all, or do you discourage that?
Overwatch, it really depends. I tell them depending on their squads, because sometimes something like maybe Storm Boys or a power intensive squad, you don't want them on Overwatch in case you're trying to tech. But other squads like Guardsman squads, Guardian squads, you can afford to do it. Just to save you the micro time in case you forget. Don't idle them at base. Looks like Piggy lost his shooter there.
Yeah, he retreated a little bit too late, and the Farseer's special, I think, actually connected and killed the last remaining model.
Yeah, he was kind of moving the shooter into the battle that Slugga's already in with Shees, and this is kind of just the danger of engaging Sluggas and Shees. He realized he was losing the battle with his Sluggas, and was trying to go support him. I think it was a misclick. He meant to, you know, right-click to attack, but accidentally right-click the terrain is what it looked like to me. But obviously I'm not the player, so I can't, you know, really say.
I like how he's still being active with his mech boy capping up points of the map that Pickles isn't even aware that the mech boy's over there because it was neutral in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a quick note on the shift clicking for capping. I personally have always done it in the beginning of the game. Or if I'm going to send a lone squad to cap, ninja cap a little bit in the late game, I might as well just shift click at least one more point. Uh, that way I'm not always idling if there's a battle that has my attention and whatnot.
Yeah, I tend to shift click at least once. I tend to try not to except for gens, generator bashing. I try to not queue up like 3 more shift clicks because I really want to be on top of my micro. So I was just kind of interested how much you guys are interested in forcing. Oh, very nice. I very much like, by the way, what Pickles is doing here at those Guardians. This is actually something that Edja does. Now, of course, he does it with energy shields, but he'll also do it with terrain. But you saw you had the Guardian standing behind that piece of terrain there, and he forced the Sluggas to come around. He just tossed that grenade in the perfect timing, perfect position, where the Sluggas kept going. The Sluggas were going to get eaten, kaboomed.
Yeah, absolutely. Hitting the corner of the terrain, so they have to round it and bunch up right there. Very good positioning.
And electric armor on the mech is going to allow him to deal with these banshees. I don't know how much of the mech we've seen, but it's an AoE armor, and there it goes down. It's dealing quite a bit of damage, and these Sluggers should be able to... But it looks like the mech boy's going to go down.
Very good response from Pickles here. So, I mean, Piggies is throwing a lot of things at Pickles here. Now, unfortunately, Pickles is going to lose his Banshee squad. But, I mean, that was just a matter of he needed to retreat that. But when the mech came in there, he made the perfect response. I don't know if a lot of people know, but it's a little bit tougher since the mech now has melee resistance, which I guess we'll talk about in a second, because we'd be fools not to in this cast. But basically, if you get a mech with electric armor coming in against you, your real response needs to be to just target the mech, just focus fire him down. He doesn't have very much health generally, so you can get him out of there pretty quickly. And you saw the Banshees just almost, killed him off, almost.
Yeah, he came in there below half health at the time too, so that didn't help matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that usually is going to be the case, particularly if you have good range support forces.
I got to question the Shuriken Cannon with the mech boy on the field. That's just far too easily countered, teleporting and force melee.
Yeah, so I'm getting a little scared for Pickles here now because he had been doing really well, but we see that he's kind of not retreating now. He's just losing. Okay, there we go. Here's a retreat. But he may actually grenade his own retreat path. I like the idea of what he was trying to do. It just wasn't timed well. But again, that's something that comes with experience and practice, and that's what these guys are working on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, timing. Timing. A lot of this game is mostly just experience and practice, really. In fact, everything about this game is actually that. Ooh, webway gates. I like webway gates.
Yeah, I do, but I don't like the positioning of this one because it's these things are usually invisible, but these Sluggas are going to run right into it, and they're going to be like, "Oh hi, what's this?" As soon as they stop attacking the power node. And here they go. But now I guess there is enough there to force them off. But usually you'd like to keep those hidden so that you can just kind of come out and be your enemy and be like, "Oh my gosh, what is that? Where'd it come from?"
Indeed, especially on obscure parts of the map. Looks like Piggies has pretty much gotten all 3 VPs several requisition points. So his economy is soaring right now.
Yeah,
he's almost ready to tech up.
Yeah, despite having looked behind earlier in the game, Piggies has really turned things around here. He's gotten some key squad kills and
just lost his Slugger squad.
Yeah.
That might set him back a little bit. Let's see if he decides to replace it or tech up. He goes for the tech up, which in my opinion is
the right move.
Yeah, the right move, especially with a fast war truck against Eldar, who have no counters really until tier 2.
From my personal experience, the way I usually play this matchup is just getting 2 big shooters and just using that, like a lot of micro, the 2 big shooters, to just play rather defensively, like still push out on the map however you can, but play defensively and use the fact you're only spending 40 power. Eldar tend to spend much more than 40 power. Much more timely retreat here by Pickles, and nice usage of the Shuriken too.
Yeah, Mech Boy wasted all of his energy on the electric armor on the way to port.
But anyway, so I usually just go 2x big shooter and try to get to tier 2 as quickly as I can. And then yeah, that war truck is absolutely huge. Very nice micro eluded there to dodge that. And then actually not retreating. This could be, I think he's coming up a little too far forward here. He's trying to directly engage a shuriken, which may be a little bit of a mistake here, but we'll
If
see.
he can suppress that shuriken, he can buy his mech boy enough time, and there's the teleport and the force melee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For some reason, the Ludas didn't want. Oh, I guess they were still suppressed.
Well, yeah, Ludas are, honestly, when it comes to suppression versus suppression, Ludas are just terrible. I mean, Ludas have their strong points, which is that they can infiltrate and then they can ambush infiltrated stuff, but when it comes for being a straight-up suppression team, they're one of the worst in the game, if not the worst.
Weird boy coming out for Piggy's Go Moo, and that's going to allow him to deal with a lot of this infantry. Just Warp Vomit, set up Ludas. Oh gosh, there goes the enemy infantry. Oh no, he did.
Oh no, what is he setting up? Oh no, they might not get out of there. That's going to be really tough for them to get out of there.
Oh, they're safe.
Alright.
Or not. Ha ha.
Refocusing on the Banshees, and I believe nice usage of guide here actually would have been. Or did that guide come in before and I only picked up on it now, or did that just come in?
I think it just came in to deal with the sluggas, and then the sluggas retreated.
Yeah, that's a good idea there, because I mean it's the right idea, you know, I want to say, because even though they have Aspect, when you're facing two squads of sluggas are still pretty good anti-melee. But yeah, any comments right now, Blood and Guts?
Just watching the left side of the map, the natural wreck on the Eldar side's gone uncapped for quite a while, as well as the VP in the second requisition expansion. I got a question that he might be pushing the right side a bit too hard and just neglecting his own.
Yeah, the VP situation might be a bit of an issue right now for Pickles. Just putting that out there. 500 to 85 with Pickles on the 85 end. He is teching tier 2 though, and he is working on capturing the one of these victory points. If he can get a grenade off right here, this may justify the loss of this squad, because there's nowhere this squad's going. Look at this grenade spike! Oh! And now here comes the this may be an overcommitment here. Oh man, I was going to lose everything. Oh, Pickles. Oh no. No, don't charge into the Orc Horde. Oh.
We have enough almost enough for an Autarch drop, so maybe we'll be seeing that.
Yeah,
could
that would
be a game changer.
Oh, he's actually a little low on red though. It would actually help now for that Banshee to die slightly. Yeah, the gates will definitely hurt your capability of getting Autarch. We're seeing now. Okay, your Warp Spiders coming out. Warp Spider is almost never a bad idea against Orcs, honestly.
Yeah, particularly not a slug a heavy build. That's gonna really. I think he shot himself in the foot on that one.
Actually, I wonder, it may be a little bit harder to pull that off though now, because you know, especially if you have the knob in there for the sluggas, you can pop swamp them. In 3.14 they increase the energy cost of teleporting for the Warp Spider to from 30 to 35, so that technically gives you not totally one less teleport, but it kind of cuts down to your teleporting capabilities a little bit. So I'm kind of wondering how that all works out, as far as because you know, the sluggas can still chase you pretty well. Not to say that it doesn't result in a lot of losses for the sluggas. So nice usage of the gates here, but he really has to capture 2 victory points right now, and he's only really got 1. But alright, he's warping the Warp Spiders up top left here. And here come those sluggas to go ahead and ruin their day. They got their Vernas, they're going to be able to chase a little bit better. And this is the kind of damage they take on approach, but Wogoff get in there, and once they get in melee, they'll still do really well, so. Nice, though.
Well, Banshees are down at bottom wreck. They could easily jib the Slugga squad if he's paying attention. Just has to position himself in that retreat path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. Very nice job here by Piggies. Going ahead, popping Swamp them immediately. But nice usage of this gate, though, I gotta say. I mean, this, unfortunately, is going to lose the Warp Spiders. The Warp Spiders will just need to get in the gate at that point. But, you know, the thought, as far as having the gate over here, this is probably almost, I don't know. Actually, you know, the Autarch is probably more valuable at this point. But if you're going to use a gate, that was certainly the place to put it and the way to use it.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, it looks like he's going to bleed out on victory points here. So Piggies, it looks like we'll take this game.
Yeah, GG to Piggy.
Did anyone else hear an orc screaming at the end on your screen?
I think that happens every game, doesn't it?
I suppose so. I think the Slugganob was just excited.
Like a regular orc or the grot?
It was sounded like a regular orc voice.
Alright, guys, I got one or two coming if you could open the spots.
Okay, do you want to do this like King of the Hill style, maybe?
Yeah, we can have someone go against Piggy now.
Alrighty.
See.
Let's see, let's pick a different map for him. Let's just go down the list, why not?
Could you open one more spot?
Yeah, I just changed maps so it close them.
Nice.
Thunderhost. Oh, I know Thunderhost. Hi, Thunderhost.
Right.
Thunderhost. That's an awesome name. Almost as good as Thugtacular. I remember that guy.
Yeah, my favorite name so far has to be General Retard.
I personally enjoy just making my name a name of a hero of my race and playing a different hero. Because sometimes I can change your opponent's build completely.
I thought you were actually playing Tech Marine when you were called Tech Marine last
That
time.
was one time. Other times I was playing the Apothecary, and then I play as Lictor Alpha, but secretly I'm the Ravener Alpha. Ooh, I'm sneaky.
But alright, so Piggy's has switched over to Warlock, it seems. And Thunderhost is going to go ahead and play us some Hive Tyrant, which actually is something that we just... honestly, I don't know why we don't see it more in, like, our usual daily stuff or the GROS and stuff. It's just one of those things. Oh, and it's Jock, Game Replays Artist! Yay!
Most, I sometimes like to play the Hive Tyrant, but I feel like he messes up your Gaunt's pathing way too much to really be useful. And on some maps, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say right now, on Calderis, he's just honestly not that good. Calderis is way too big for this massive creature that walks in slow motion and gets caught up on the smallest of rocks.
Do you think his brood nest give him any kind of advantage on a map this big?
I do, if you can secure a forward positioning and not have to retreat out of it. Overwatch is really useful in that you don't have to manually reinforce anymore, so you don't have to waste actions on doing that and can concentrate on the battle. But it can also drain your resources way too quickly.
Really, like... That's why I kind of asked OlBloodNGutz a bit this in-game about exactly, like, learn to play a stance on that, because I really dislike Overwatch. It's kind of one of those things, I don't mind it being in the game, but, there are a lot of competitive players, myself kind of included, where it's like, it takes some of the skill of the game, but that's alright, because what it comes down to is that a player managing their own economy manually, without Overwatch, is going to have a better economy, because they're going to be more on top of things, they're going to make sure that they always decide between reinforcing and purchasing something, or an upgrade, whatever. They're always just going to have a much better economy. It's always just better. It's better practice in every possible way.
And also, I feel like Overwatch, if you queue up reinforcements manually, it will trigger a little bit quicker. I feel like Overwatch, there's a little bit of a delay in when the unit's reinforced and then the other one gets queued in.
Ooh,
so if you manage it manually,
that would be
you do get quicker timings. I've noticed it a lot with Gaunts. I feel like if anytime I do Overwatch, I'm not reinforcing as quick as I could. Also, side note, tunnels and webways and buildings remove Overwatch, so if you are using it and you're wondering why it's not really working or why it keeps turning off, every time a unit enters a hold, which is a transport, a tunnel, a webway, or a building, and then it exits, Overwatch will be wiped off of autocast or whatever.
I haven't had that work on a transport, because I know I've loaded things in and out of chimeras to have them remain, but the tunnels and the webways is absolutely true.
Yeah, I obviously don't really play with too many transports, so I just assumed. My bad.
Yeah, war trucks and chimeras, I know for a fact they don't reset Overwatch, but the tunnels and the webways do. But
Okay.
yeah, you're right.
So, long story short, apparently Overwatch actually reinforces slower, and then potentially has some bugs where it will just disappear off a squad altogether, and then you'll be wondering why a squad's in base not reinforced. So, long story short, if you can avoid using reinforced Overwatch, totally just avoid that like the plague, and just work on. It takes some extra effort, but it is one of those things where if you just continue to do it, it mostly is a learned skill. Even though you think a lot of people think that actions per minute are like skill, like inherent skill, I guess I want to say. It is usually something that is more learned skill, because the thing behind actions per minute that you really have to learn, I want to say, is that you've got to figure out what to do with all those actions. I mean, your average person, your average PC user, you type, 100 words a minute is probably pretty standard for a lot of us. So you tend to have the dexterity for the kinds of actions per minute you need for an average RTS game like Dawn of War 2 to be decently proficient for, not using Overwatch and stuff. It's just a matter, again, of knowing the game well enough to know what to do with your actions, right, to do with your dexterity, and that's how you get more APM. It's not so much that you just, are this esports beast. Up to it, when you get to a certain level, yeah, then that matters, but below that, no, it doesn't. In Dawn of War 2 right now, it doesn't matter at all. Every single bit of APM in Dawn of War 2 that I think almost any player uses is learnable at this current stage of the game's life.
Absolutely.
So we've been sitting on the screen for a bit, so I guess if you guys are ready, we're ready, and we'll see if our participants are ready.
I think we got one more coming.
Okay, so
Checking
we'll
on that.
go ahead and wait for them then. So in the meantime, let's see what else should we talk about. There's always stuff to talk about. I'll let you guys propose the subject this time. I talk too much
I'm going to read chat. Thank you, Kraken. Bah. I just don't have the attention span yet to remember to do everything.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, again, your actions per minute, or even your attention as well, it's just one of those things you learn to refocus. You learn what's important.
If you keep it in your mind to always check on your unit icons, because the game makes it really easy. The top left corner, it is the top
right.
left, right?
Top right.
Top right corner has all of your little units and their little health bars. So if you just make it a habit to check every 10 seconds on your little icons, you'll just do it subconsciously.
Yeah, also good for checking on ninja cappers. If they're flashing red, they're under fire, and you got to get them out of dodge.
Exactly.
Always a good idea.
A discourse on victory points as a resource. It is a resource, and I feel like we could devote more time to that in a later daily.
Yeah, we could definitely do a whole daily on it. There were some great, and actually we have to look and see if there's still. I know we've got the hack. We'll have to see if the replay has any of the 2 things in it that we can't use it for. But there was a series of really good replays actually from the Game Replays Open Season. There's one particular player that really prioritized victory points in an interesting way who is not Edja. I think the other one who we could talk about in that is, of course, always Edja, because every time he goes into Tier 2, he is always ahead in victory points. It is just one of those things where it's wow, the player is always able to do that. But Vinegar X shed some interesting light on that when we talked to him. But anyway, we got everyone ready to go, so let's get this started up. And definitely, if you guys want to request anything, we have a thread on GameReplays.org /Dawn of War 2 in the general discussion area. It is the official Dawn of War 2 daily thread. Just go over there and let us know what you want to see on the daily. Send us replays. Send us everything. We're totally open to awesome stuff.
Oh man, I've been coughing out my lungs, but I did put my my mic on mute, so I didn't have to hear that. But we do check the YouTube comments
Yeah, even newbie replays.
Semi-regularly on the actual Icy Cup TV page, not necessarily. I do check the ones in the videos, but not regularly. Ooh, Ravener Alpha. I'm pleased by this. I did not notice this earlier. How did I not notice? This map is wonderful for the Ravener Alpha. I'm excited to see what he does.
Someone was definitely listening to the stream.
Stream watching.
Yeah, looks like Piggy also changes hero to Warlock.
Yeah,
Warlock will allow him to deal with Gaunts, which is pretty nice, but a lot of people just don't think he has the late game staying power of the Warp Spider Exarch, or not necessarily staying power, but just late game possibilities, I guess, of teleporting around and ninja capping. And phase shift. A lot of phase shift.
Any thoughts on War Gear? Would you suggest Immolate for the swarm control, or maybe Merciless Witchblade just for the constant knockback on heroes? Like, which would you suggest in this matchup?
Merciless. Well, go ahead, Lokgar.
Yeah. I would go with Merciless. The benefits are really threefold. One, the special attack will probably do more damage to Gaunts when it triggers than Immolate, because a player can kind of move out of Immolate. Two, you're going to drain the Ravener Alpha's energy so he can't tunnel everywhere, or use any of his burrow war gear, or, you know, any of that. And three, it will spike down warriors incredibly fast. You'll just cause synapse boom everywhere, and on top of special attacks, it's just devastating. But Immolate can be nice to deny cover and whatnot. I just don't think it's worth the investment at this point in time, or really any time.
Yeah, unfortunately, like with Merciless Witchblade's special attack being what it is, once everyone really discovered that, Immolate just has never looked quite as good.
Yeah, it triggers quite enough against Gaunts that, you know, you can have it pretty consistently.
So, by the way, here, guys, I have some awesome sauce detailed tooltips going on here. I'm hovering over Toxin Stacks for you guys, so those of you watching at 720p full screen, go ahead and actually see exactly what Toxin Stacks does here. Toxin Stacks increases Termagant damage by 45%, health by 10%, and enables the crippling poison ability. That's the kind of utility you get from the detailed tooltips mod that you don't get from Relic's default tooltips.
One thing that excuse me, one thing Piggy should do is, I guess a Ravener Alpha, always assume his natural generators has a tunnel near it. You want to try to hunt that as soon as you can, that way he can't rush back and defend. Because if you notice right here, he's got a tunnel right next to Piggy's generators, so he can just, in theory, go into the tunnel really quickly now that they made loading times a lot sooner, quicker. Go to his natural, defend it, and then go back to gen bashing. And you want to hunt tunnels anyway, because they give you red too.
Yeah, it's always insane to watch Ravener Alpha replays, and the amount of red. Oh man, like you'll just have nukes dropping left and right because those things give off like 30 red per kill.
Ooh, and he did kill the tunnel right as the other Gaunts loaded into the tunnel, so good eye there catching that.
Good timing too, yeah. I'm not sure if the timing part was intentional, but
good timing nonetheless.
Yeah. So we have a double gen bash here of sorts, and we see that basically out of this, Piggy's is in the better position. He had already started on the gen farm on the bottom left here, earlier than Thunderhost started on the power node in the top right. We see Thunderhost isn't complimenting that at all yet.
And we see the Merciless Witchblade out on Piggy's. Also, I forgot to mention the ranged attack does do constant knockback, and they did add stances. There's a special attack right there. Look at all those Gaunts. They're forced to retreat. They're going to be forced to retreat, or they're just going to die. Yeah, and he's probably going to trigger another one if he doesn't retreat.
Oh man, Thunder.
Oh, Senko. I like that one a lot.
There they go. They're getting out of there. And I think he had just popped another one after that anyway.
Yeah. Ooh, Termagant's in a dangerous position. Raveners coming out for Thunderhost. Raveners are a staple in the mid tier 1 nowadays, especially since with range snaps they just do amazing amounts of damage. I believe it's something obscene like 600 per burst, but of course could be wrong. Against the 3 Guardian composition, I would probably go with Barb Strangler Warrior Broods and then Cripple Poison the Warlock and hope he doesn't get into your warriors with a Merciless Witchblade. But I also do like the tunnel placement by Thunderhost. He's hiding them in little obscure nooks and crannies, or at least trying to, I feel like.
Yeah.
The tunnel he just recently dug. That's going to allow him to backcap these requisitions incredibly easily with Gaunts. Especially since he has a huge VP lead. He can just take a minute to harass Piggy's economy and then go focus on VPs again later.
Yeah, this is certainly one of the things that being ahead in victory points gives you. It kind of gives you the initiative, because you always know that your opponent has to, at some point in the game, respond to the victory point situation. Nice grenade spike there, though. Although, at this point, Piggy's probably needed it. Well, he's going to get it out. That was dangerous, man. I think priority number one in that situation is getting your squad out. Because, you know, you're at risk of losing an entire squad and then not actually killing anything for the opponent.
It looks like Thunder's not taking the risk on that power expansion there, not adding generators to it.
Yeah, let's see, does he really, you know, honestly, if he's going for a second
there he
Ravener,
goes, he just popped up,
okay.
Yeah, that Ravener Alpha, the time it spent to knock down that node, probably could have decapped one of those rec points. I would never really send a hero to... Ooh, I like this Guardian Shield deployed right in the middle of the battle. Is that backwards, though?
Nah,
that might be backwards.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter,
backwards.
though. It doesn't matter. There is no real backwards. It works both ways, but, nice usage of Crippling Poison here. And nice double Crippling Poison. Again, it's a little dangerous sending lone Guardians in here. To go
not enough energy for a nade either, so no point to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done that before, so I can't complain. But you know, actually, I felt like he would have been better just staying behind the shield and just using that to go ahead and engage the Termagants.
Oh, this is going to be that. If he didn't burn this and just cap this, this is actually closer to his natural farm than the other one.
Yeah,
and with the power of tunnels, really.
Completely
with the power of tunnels, he could easily defend it. Sorry, God, I did not mean to cut you off. I'm bad at this.
No worries. Yeah, a little bit of a faux pas there, taking the farm down. I think he thought better. No, never mind. There he goes again. But still, major tech advantage. Neither one has a home power farm, and now Piggy's losing his expansion, so mid T2 incoming, unless he goes for double Ravener. What would you suggest at this point as the Eldar? Banshee's really a good choice with Toxin Sacks out in numbers?
Well, I wouldn't have suggested 3 Guardians to start with, so I think we're kind of already looking at a situation where he's going to have to salvage a force composition out of this. I think he really would have liked a Shuriken in there somewhere.
Yeah, at this point I would probably just rely on well-microed Shurikens and Guardians. The Banshee will just be spiked down in tier 2 very quickly if range snaps gets added to this. The Ravener did get upgraded with the Corrosive Devourer. And also Catalyst on Raveners is amazing. I completely forgot about that. That's the Ravener Alpha's global. Your units take DOT damage, and it's quite significant damage, but they also deal double damage. I believe it's double damage. It's just ridiculous amounts of damage, basically.
I think it's 50% more, but it is quite a bit more.
If you get Catalyst Hormigaunt squad with Adrenal Glands in a retreat path of a unit, they will take heavy losses.
Yeah, we saw that a lot actually in the Game Replays Open Season number 1. Just some really good usage of that by some players.
Yeah, I've seen it used to great effect with Zoanthropes. Their warp field up, so they take no health damage but still get the damage boost. It's one of my favorite uses of it.
Yeah, and tunnels also add a lot of survivability to Zoanthropes, because if you stick them near the tunnel, they're probably not going to die because you can just stick them right back into it.
So meanwhile, Piggy's big issue right now is, you know, he did a good job of getting that little power boost midway through the game, but right now he has no power nodes to his name. He's working on that on the left side here. But, you know, he really needed to go ahead and just his natural power node. He needed to capture that at some point, just recapture it. Just to give himself at least +5. That actually is really significant over +10.
Yeah, it is. And
then even here, bottom, like, capture that. He has to capture that at this point. And we're seeing that he's just kind of allowing Thunder to keep rebuilding this and prevent him from capturing. He really needs to capture some power here.
Yeah, one of the good things about a NID really teching up earlier than you is they don't have any really hard vehicles other than Tyrant Guard, and that's only when he's in his shield wall ability. So you can sort of soft counter most of the things the Nid can throw at you, but you still, like, when Synapse gets introduced, it's just gonna dominate a lot of the tier 1 stuff.
Oh, nice
very
grenade!
nice.
That was actually one of those nice, very rare moving grenade tosses that are not the easiest things to do, by the way.
Yeah.
I was so happy when I first discovered those. I just used them all day, especially on Commando Burner Bombs. That was what I was most happy about, because the range on Commando Burner Bombs is just so abhorrent for what you need, what you need to use them for.
I'm not sure if you caught this before when his Guardian scouted near that tunnel. Did they get the Fog of War revealed on that power expansion? Does he know that Thunder has a second power farm? Or rather has this one fully upgraded farm?
No, he doesn't. I'm checking his Fog of War.
Ah, right.
He only sees a node. That's dangerous, not knowing an opponent's power farm, because he did bash the bottom one, so he probably thinks Thunder has no power, and this tier 2 is just going to be a huge surprise for him. And Thunder now has 2 other generators up, so he's going to be able to get to tier 3 pretty quickly.
In all honesty, I would not a big fan of when Tyranids do this, but if I were Thunder right now, I would just tech straight tier 3.
I'd probably throw in a Venom Brood just to be safe. Especially with the Venom Brood cost nerf, if you're going ranged army, you can fit a Venom Brood into many builds. Dare I say all builds.
Now we're going to see that he's going to catch this generator farm. So this generator, okay, now this is the point where I would say, okay, yeah, that Venom Brood may be a good idea. Because we talked about this, and here we go, Thunder recognizing that. I like this a lot, personally. He's thinking exactly like I would think here, which is, if I can keep this farm up, I can power tier 3 really easily, and I can probably go ahead and just take the game like that. But the second this power is discovered and I'm at risk of losing it, then my issue all of a sudden becomes, if I lose this power, then I'm going to get to tier 3 and basically not have any reason to be in tier 3.
He had his Ravener decapping a requisition point. It was about halfway done decapping, and then he just left it. I would have let the decap happen and then go to the VP. That's where shift clicking again comes in handy. He's focusing on the battle here. He can just shift click his Ravener to get a rec point, and then the VP or both rec points.
Yeah, and we're going to see in the meantime this Eldar force is indeed going to force him off, and now going to deal with the tunnels. Actually, going to take that power too, by the way. Oh no, come on, deal with the tunnel, deal with the tunnel! No, your capping squad is going to get nommed into oblivion!
Might be just trying to time a grenade into it, but who knows, who knows.
Looks like he has full energy for the grenade. Maybe he's going to try to catch him in a little grenade drop on the blobbed up tunnel droppers. I can see that happening.
I like how Thunderhost did build his tunnel off to the side, though. I always make a big fuss about that, even though I don't do it myself half the time because I always forget and I'm too lazy.
I certainly noticed last time I played you that I was like, oh look, it's one of Lokgar's tunnels. I'll just walk up and kill it. I had a lot of red that game, but like I had a tough time getting tier 2 because it was on Legacy, so.
Not sure you guys caught that. The Banshee squad just got nuked down while ninja capping that rec point.
Yeah, that's the power of range Synapse right there. Just come in and go.
Did you catch the Autark drop? I didn't see if you got anything.
It did drop on the Ravener Alpha, and it literally just dropped on the Ravener Alpha. Ooh, damage Synapse on the Ravener Alpha too. He's gonna mix this in with his ranged blob, and Raveners with Catalyst do 900 a burst with the ranged Synapse and the damage Synapse, I believe was the math. But I could be wrong. But that's still a ridiculous number.
Devour does 22.04 damage per second for each Ravener.
Yeah, I was talking about just burst.
Yeah, I know.
The squad burst, but yeah, I don't really know DPS numbers.
Burst, honestly, but
yeah, it seems a bit high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, but I don't know. I'll look it up again.
Nice job here by the Autark jumping in here. There's really no melee in the squad right now as the Hormigons are back at base. we're seeing that Thunder really has to split this up a little bit. He's not quite able to do that right now. And the Raveners even are back trying to decap, or trying to deal with this power point, or war anyway. But now this Autarch's in a bad position.
Missed the chance to force melee in that retreat. Definitely could have killed it.
Or even another ranged burst probably might have knocked him down enough.
Yeah, true. Also loving how the Autarch passive jump completely ignores crippling poison.
She just has so much speed, it doesn't even matter.
Just notice Piggy has all of the captured requisition on the map right now, so he's making a comeback. As long as he can keep these VPs from really draining him, he has a fighting chance still.
Yeah, he is actually working.
I do love the Wraithguard too. Against a ranged blob which is just blobbed up, Wraithguard do amazingly well. Focus on the Venom Brood, the splash will hit a few Termagants, and then once the Synapse Boom happens, the ranged blob just goes down. Yeah, but you have to make sure to protect them, of course.
Yeah, and he's got to watch out for that because we're seeing that Thunderhost is indeed tier 3 right now. And you know what that means. We all know what that means.
Hopefully a Carnifex, but I'm willing to bet Swarmlord.
Even just either of the two at the moment would be just completely exactly what Thunder would need to go ahead and deal with all this. Lokgar, why Carnifex over Swarmlord?
I like Rippers and I like Charge, and Barb Strangler against a 3 Guardian composition. A Barb Strangler Carnifex will literally, one Barb Strangler shot will decimate the Guardian squad. I feel like it does. And then the Swarmlord, especially on this big map, can be kited. He's like the Hive Tyrant in terms of pathing. I feel like he's just clumsy.
But he also brings that speed synapse too, which would be really nice for the range mob, particularly in this late VP style game. But because it's that late VP style game, the Swarmlord does take actually quite a bit longer to get to the field. And yeah, Barb Strangler Carnifex can be fielded a lot earlier, still be about as effective. My only issue would be that the Barb Strangler Carnifex wouldn't do very much about these Wraithguard, and that's kind of something that Thunder really, Thunder needs to do something about at the moment if he's looking to counter anything specific. Now actually, as far as his Ravener Alpha goes, he could get the Burrow. Oh, he's doing it! Yay! Good job, Thunderhost, getting the Burrow Warrior here at Hardened Carapace. So,
it's my armor of choice for the Ravener Alpha. A Lictor coming out actually, so both of our estimates were wrong, but guesses were wrong. But the Lictor is a nice unit, especially on a big map like this. You can kind of keep him cloaked indefinitely in some nook and cranny of the map, and then use him to decap, ninja cap, flesh out key units here, like the Frizzers, the Warlock on the Wraithguard squad, and things like that.
yeah, and you know,
Burrowing also gives you a ton of scouting capacity. If you have Hardened Carapace on your Ravener, please scout with him. It has won me several games, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, you know, the victory point situation at the moment is such where the Lictors can go ahead and ninja cap. The only issue I have really is kind of Calderas. Not the most Lictor friendly in maps for that because the victory points are so linearly arranged. It kind of, the victory points tend to be, once both players get into just victory point control, it tends to be that you can deal with victory points courtesy of just, you know, army versus army sort of deal. But
in this situation, I think Thunderhost needed to focus on the Autarch, because now he's going for the Venom Broods, and he would also have the Raveners, which are the units that are going to deal the most damage to the Autarch.
Oh man, that Merciless Witchblade special is just massacring those Gaunts.
Yeah, he needs to retreat those Gaunts.
No, actually, at this point he can sacrifice them, I think. He's trying to get these Guardians off that point, which would be the thing he needs to do. This Termagants need to focus on the Guardian.
The main thing is his economy is not as strong as Piggy's at the moment. Yeah, Piggy's economy is soaring. He has all the requisition points. The Hormigaunt squad could have easily been loaded up in that tunnel he had hidden away, and then with the Adrenal Glands, they're fast enough to, you know, decap and run around the map, especially such a big map. But it's Gaunts are in general very sacrifice friendly in the late game, especially when you're in tier 3.
And when Destructor's on the field too.
Yay, Lictor.
Rawr.
Nom, 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 nom.
So yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit about exactly how you would deal with the Wraithguard too, and the Lictor is probably a pretty good choice for that, although, you know, he has a bevy of options now with the Burrow upgraded Ravner Alpha, so maybe not the most necessary things. I think is one of the things, or one of the areas you want to kind of look at, where you try to skimp by with as little as possible.
If I was Thunderhost, I'd focus on getting some requisition back, because that's going to be his limiting factor now. Wraithguard on the field are pretty much going to, unless you can tie them up very quickly, I guarantee you're going to lose a few models of Gaunts, and that's going to, you know, hurt you, especially when you have 195 rec income. But Piggies is GGing, apparently.
Yeah, he only has about 25 victory points, so getting that middle victory point back is just going to be very tough for him. So GG to both players. Any comments, OlBloodNGutz?
Well, we had a little bit of idling on Piggy's side. That Guardian was up at that power expansion for the better half of the game during that last engagement there. Could have used them for a flank, maybe nading that Venom Brood, but other than that, better player won. They both did well. Just good game all around.
Alright, so Thunderhost, now the king of the hill.
So I guess that puts Jock up.
Alrighty, Jock. One of our newer game, well, one of my newer Game Replays members. I in different capacities when I'm here versus when I am actually, you know, doing stuff for Game Replays. So let's see, what map should we go with here? Green Tooth Gorge, the next one in line. Why not? Yeah, Pythonic Spartan was lagging a bit.
Yeah, I got lag messages from him.
Like the cast was a little laggy too. Like that actually, yeah. By the way, guys who are watching the cast, that was actually going on in game.
Yeah,
it wasn't just you guys.
That's just having a bunch of observers. There's bound to be a little bit of lag, but I don't. Yeah.
Alright, so while we get this set up, actually we're going to go ahead and go to commercial really quickly, so we'll be right back, guys. Okay, I always get a bad feeling when people in the chat go, quote, commercial, because it makes me feel like the commercials aren't coming up. So, are they actually not playing, or is that just people in chat? Help us out here, because that really does help, actually. So, meantime, we need to get Jock to swap with Piggies in the game. Alright, so it didn't play. Awesome. I hope it still gives us the money.
Possibly not, but we can always pretend to have commercials.
That is annoying. Alrighty then.
I wonder if they played earlier in the earlier dailies now.
I really hope they did, because I'm doing everything right to get them to play. There's no reason why they shouldn't be playing. We don't have room for anyone else to join. And honestly, we're not going to have more time for more people to join, by the way. So, I mean, we're going to be lucky if we can get a game between Jock and Thunder, and then the winner of Jock and Thunder against Spartan. So,
Indeed. I also approve of Zero choice for this map, if he is sticking with it.
I would force that swap if I could, but we're full on slots, so I can't do my usual abuse of powers. So really quickly before we get into this, I just want to make a bit of an announcement for everyone here that's watching today. On Friday, we'll be having our 17th Dawn of War 2 daily, and it's going to be a very, very special Dawn of War 2 daily because we're going to have a couple of Relic developers in the house battling it out.
Yeah, we will. I don't think we want to ruin the matchup just yet, though. But it's going to be a good one.
I don't know. I think maybe some people would like to know, but exactly
well.
who? Or I can tell we can tell you what races. Maybe we won't tell you what Relic developers it is. I will certainly say that
like
one
that
of the
idea.
Relic developers you will want to see.
I feel like both of them they're going to want to see, but yeah.
Certainly one of them in light of recent comments, particularly what he's either going to be using or going to be faced with. I know you guys want to see that, and you know, we were sure that that would show up, but also the reason why. Okay, so the matchup is going to be Apothecary versus Tyranids, and I think most of you figured out who one of the Relic developers is already. But you know, one of the reasons why we chose Apothecary specifically for the Space Marines was not really to judge whether he's overpowered and whatnot, but because Space Marines versus Tyranids was in 3.13 almost an unwinnable matchup, as how many experts considered it. So you know, we wanted to see from the developers themselves exactly what's changed between now and then, and how they employ those changes, how they play the matchup, and we felt like Apothecary would make sure that we gave the Space Marine the best possible chance in the matchup. You just kind of like one of those best chance things, so that we weren't really skewing it one way or the other in a negative fashion. As much as I feel Tech Marine's pretty good in the matchup too, Apothecary is just Apothecary. So, but you know. So anyway, that's going to be the matchup. It's going to be played across Seawall Frontier, Greentooth Gorge, and Craft World, which is a custom map, so we're going to actually get the developers playing on something that they didn't develop. So you'll definitely want to tune in Friday, 5:30 p.m., same place, same, well, I just told you the time, but...
Yeah. Same time, same place, but I think that's it. Ready to go here. I believe both players did give the green light at one point.
Indeed they did, so I believe they are ready. Gonna go ahead and get this started up then. And I guess I'll...
Ooh, Hive Tyrant on this map. I also approve because this map is small enough that the Hive Tyrant is a fighting threat, except there are so many buildings for Mr. Warp Spider Exarch to hide into, and Mr. Hive Tyrant will be chasing him, stumble over a rock, and not actually get a hit off, and then slowly walk away sadly with his tail between his legs.
Speaking of Lokgar, do you have any opinion on the Hive Tyrant's one ranged weapon, the Venom Cannon?
I honestly have not used it since they nerfed the vehicle damage way back when. In many situations, I'd rather have the single target damage of the Crushing Claws or the ability on the Rending Talons. But I mean, it's something that I need to experiment more with. I wish I played the Hive Tyrant a little bit more, but I just can't get over how bad his pathing is, and it's just very frustrating for me to play with him.
Do you think maybe the IG metagame, like perhaps double Sentinel builds, might warrant getting it in T2 just to down those Sentinels, or are Raveners always a better choice?
I wouldn't say they're always the better choice, but with Raveners in Tier 1 will give you enough of an advantage that I feel like you don't really need to invest in the Venom Cannon. I'll have to think more about that, but I feel like the Raveners are so useful in Tier 1 as well that you can take more of the map if you play your cards right, or just try to, like, you know, delay his economy. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend spending that much of an investment just to deal with 2 Sentinels, because eventually you're going to have Range Synapse, and Range Synapse will just dominate it with the Venom Broods.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the bigger issue, is that, you know, the whole point of Sentinels in that area is kind of to force
I like
you
his,
to...
I do like Thunderhost capping order, if you don't mind me butting in here.
Oh, yeah,
He's
sure.
forcing the, he just basically took a lot of his, requisition points up faster, or he's going to get the second one faster than Jock can get his second one halfway capped, as long as he doesn't go off the decap, and that's going to give him a little bit of an early advantage.
This is actually something that I've seen. I'm not sure if Jock, my bad, if Thunderhost is doing this knowingly, but capturing this victory point here, my bad, not the victory point, but I can't talk today. The requisition point that these Guardians are buying. Now the Guardians are kind of decapping this secondary power, but the requisition point that Thunderhost captured first, there's no buildings around it, and actually it makes the Warp Spider Exarch much easier to deal with. So it's one of those things where it's very specific against Warp Spider Exarch. I will look to capture that first because it really makes it easier to deal with any kind of harass the Warp Spider Exarch tries to do.
Yeah, and many Warp Spider Exarchs, if they decide to harass your requisition over power, will just be confused as to why there's nothing there.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, ultimately easier to force them off from that building a little later when it's closer to your base, as opposed to the opening moments of the game. So, also kind of interesting here, we have double Hormigons from Thunderhost, and this is something actually that Derek Radix claimed just last night on the Game Replays forums that no other Hive Tyrant Tyranid player but her uses. But anyway.
I don't know, I'm not a big fan of it. Then again, I don't play Hive Tyrant as much. The basic synapse will, like, increase their survivability by quite a bit. But with this many buildings on the map, and especially since Shurikens can now garrison up in buildings, probably would have just went range with Barb Strangler or something like that. Because a few of these buildings, if you look on them, have little big trees blocking the side paths. So your Barb Strangler can actually fire over these while the Shuriken can't fire at them. And the game seems to be going a little bit laggy at this point.
Yeah, Spartan said that he tried to turn on the cast, probably not the greatest idea. And, by the way, I'm not sure I really like this move here by Thunderhost. Go ahead for these Rending Talons. It just seems really unnecessary to me when your opponent's force composition is a Warp Spider Exarch, a double Guardians, and a Shuriken.
Yeah, I probably, if I had to get a War Gear on the Hive Tyrant, I would have gotten Charge, simply because you can bull rush from a little bit of a flanking distance, so it's not head on, so which you might die from the Shuriken or the Guardians. But Rending Talons, the ability does bleed into the DOT, and damage does bleed into buildings too, so that's might be why he's getting it. And if he does, I would love to see some good usage of it.
We got Guardian. What? Ooh, close Guardians. Can they make it?
Nope.
No, sir.
The adrenal gland jump takes him down.
Num 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 num. Biomass. But yeah.
Now, speaking of AoE war gears, what do you think of the Toxin Cyst on the Lictor Alpha? Have any thoughts there?
Cysts, as in the little miasma cloud, or
is it an armor or an accessory? I forget.
It's an accessory, I believe, or maybe it's an armor. I think it is an accessory because you can jump too.
Yeah. But, so what do you think of that? Worth getting ever? IG matchup, has that made it worthwhile now, or still no?
I mean, like, every time I ladder, I play the Ravener Alpha, so I can't really comment too much on the IG matchup, but I personally would just rather get Loner and have my Lictor Alpha as kind of that lone guy, chilling around, backcapping your points and dealing with your squad that you send to deal with him, or just get Deadly Jump and just use that disruption. But I feel like it can be used to good. It does do a decent amount of damage if they didn't change it. So it could be useful, but I'd rather use my energy for jumping around. Sorry, I just saw that Rending Claws go off.
Yeah, here it goes. So, I mean, again, like, these Guardians have no issue getting out of that, and then the Shuriken, I mean, actually, you really need to save that for when the Shuriken goes in there. Use the DOT on that. DOT damage over time.
If Jock's second Shuriken that's set up by the generator could easily go into this building and still have a pretty good covering range, and also be able to cover the victory point as well as defend his generators. That building is a really nice building because it has 3 open windows, so 3 units from your squad is firing at any given point, as opposed to just one. Like,
oh my gosh, this Shuriken is retreating the wrong way.
Oh, but
Well,
the
these
Hive Tyrant
Hormagaunts
screws up the
catch-
pathing.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what
Hormagaun-
you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Too many times has that happened to me. Nice attempted nade, but also nice dodge. If Thunderhost kept charging, that Gaunt's would just been massacred.
Oh my gosh, that you realize that range from up there is without improved targeters?
No.
Yeah, it seemed like the nerf to Warp Speed Arcsark was going to be so big, and yet I honestly have barely even noticed it making a difference so far.
True.
In terms of, like, it still pops Hormagaunts like crazy fast. Players still get improved targeters.
That's just the nature of Gaunts in general. I feel like it might have helped against
Okay, Sluggus too. We saw how fast the well, okay, that was different, but sorry.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm coughing out my lungs right now.
No, I'm.
Well, you're not
I just
coughing.
got. No, I'm not even coughing. Is the thing. I just have something in my throat that I can't get out. I should probably get a drink after this. Which should give you guys more time to talk, so that's awesome. Because I hear I talk too much. I want to stop doing that, or do it less. I guess I shouldn't stop talking. But
If I was Thunderhost, I would go ahead and pop more gens down. He has so much requisition, and he has more requisition points than his enemy. I'm not too sure if he's aware of that, but definitely could use some power income.
yeah, he's got plenty of requisition. He just needs to kind of even up his requisition and power income right now. And he could tech ahead. Well, not tech ahead. He could tech tier 2. Jock is already going tier 2 and building a Guardian as soon as he gets there. It's, I guess, how much he's, how badly he's feeling the losses of the Guardians earlier. Or
It could
that
be
one Guardian squad, though, honestly.
grenades too, because he sees double Hormagaun. Nice tunnel though. That's gonna force him. Oh,
Burrow
dead.
Strike, yeah, and so he's just gonna finish that off. And okay, so now in retrospect, the Guardian there, having one Guardian is always nice, but just kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe there's something else in tier 2. He almost maybe would have had enough for Falcon. Nah, he won, but all right. I don't know. It just sat kind of sour, but then I kind of looked at it again. It didn't really matter, I guess. You know, it was 300 requisition, and he already has 470, 480 again now. So it's something that I guess is again a little inconsequential.
True.
Again, if I was Thunderhost, I would definitely invest in some generators. He has almost 1,000 requisition at this point in time.
Yeah, this is exactly when you need to be investing in generators. There we go. That's also exactly. Oh, that's not even cool. Oh, wait. Okay, I thought the Shuriken was just going to turn around there and set up like right where it landed, which would have been like, oh, that's not cool, man. That's happened to me before, but do a little knockback like Rending Talons, and then all of a sudden, you know, get that kind of stuff. We see nice Shuriken play here though by Jock. He really is doing a good job of setting them up, resetting them up, and this Warp Spider Arcsark is just kind of going around capping and doing what it needs to do.
Yeah, if you think about it, one Ravener Brood with Devour, energy-wise, costs 65 power, which is more than 2 Shurikens, so you can easily do the double Shuriken.
Actually, isn't it 70 power? Because it's the Raveners are 400.
45 and 25, yeah, my bad. I thought it was
Yep.
45 and 20.
Yeah, because it feels for whatever reason that like Raveners would be slightly wreck heavier there, and you know, because that's right, because that's standard 40 power cost that most units have at that state, but the
Yeah.
Raveners get that extra 5 power. So yeah, they're very expensive, but they're also very, very good.
Especially
So-
in tier 2, but if Jock was a little bit more aggressive when he had other Guardian squads out with his double Shuriken, he might have been able to, you know, push Thunderhost to use up some of his his requisition on reinforcements, and really hurt him.
Yeah, he really
Because he wouldn't have enough to counter. There wouldn't be enough jump units to counter those double Shuris.
Yeah, and definitely also, I guess, kind of following up with that, and that is about 3 ways to say the same thing. Awesome. All right then. But anyway, you know, kind of the follow-up to that is, you know, the Hormagaunt versus Battle Equipment Guardian matchup, right? It is not something Hormagaunts like. It's certainly something where they're just very vulnerable to that. So it's something he had in his favor. He really needed to try and work in his favor too. But anyway, so we have a Tyrant Guard coming out for Thunderhost, and I would usually say I wouldn't like that because he's teching so late, and yet Jock has absolutely zero anything out to deal with. He didn't field Banshees. He hasn't fielded a Bright Lance yet. He hasn't fielded a Falcon. He hasn't fielded a Wraith Lord.
Yeah,
I
absolutely
am
no super heavy counters. Definitely in
yeah.
a bad spot.
I'm also, in general, a fan of the Tyrant Guard with the Hive Tyrant, simply because the basic synapse. Your Hive Tyrant is going to be able to. Ooh, Art called
Very
out.
nice dodge. Like literally just the absolute second that the circle, the main circle came up, right? Not even the other circle. The very second that came up, like the move order was issued and Thunderhost was out of there, man. He was out of there.
But Tyrant Guard with the Hive Tyrant, your Hive Tyrant's going to be able to stick around a little bit more than Warriors, so he's I like him with the Tyrant Guard, especially against Eldar, because they don't really have too much that can break through his shield wall. And if all else fails, just plop him in shield wall and try to come back a little bit later to bail him out.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in what Jacques is doing here. He could have tech tier 3 while getting that out arc if that was what he wanted to do. That also would have given him a fusion gun, which would help him deal with that shield wall, Tyrant Guard, right? So, we're seeing now he's going to get a Bright Lance out and stuff. He kind of had this huge resource advantage, and he let it kind of drift off. He didn't really macro for a bit, and we're going to see that Thunderhost is going to catch up because of that.
Yeah, and if I was Jock, his one lone Guardian is harassing that node. Honestly, a Guardian won't take it down too much. Your enemy's going to know who you're attacking in the first place. Might as well just decap the nearby requisition point with that lone squad just to hurt his other part of its economy. Now, Thunderhost does have a big stockpile, but, and so in that situation, probably a harassing power might have been the correct decision, but in general, I would say go for the wreck, because you're not going to take down that power soon, fast enough for the real army to come by. Either way, he has the requisition to replace it immediately.
I'm liking the Termagant harassing the Autarch down south. Keeps dodging into the building, out of the building, into the building again.
Yeah, and by the way, she's getting Executioner up, so...
Yeah, a lot of people underestimate Termagants in buildings. They don't do much damage, but the fact that they're still there and can pop out and harass whenever they want, and apply crippling poison whenever they want, is really, really handy.
Yeah, crippling poison being just absolutely huge, always, forever. And right here we have that Tyrant Guard. Okay, good job backing away from base. It's always very tempting to just send the Tyrant Guard or whatever your early vehicle is into the opponent's base, but that is a death sentence for that vehicle, and honestly, unless you're going to win with that maneuver, and most of the times you won't, even if your opponent doesn't have hard counters prepared, it's just kind of one of those things where you're just throwing the game away and throwing a key unit in the game away too.
Yeah, always, if you're gonna use a Tyrant Guard to harass like the base, I would, do that, and as soon as he retreats, don't chase. Probably shield wall, because a lot of players, for whatever reason, decide to focus exclusively on the Tyrant Guard, even when he's shield walled. I don't know. I guess he just looks like a scary thing to hit, and you need to hit it immediately. But it will help you a lot.
Yeah, that is one of the things, like, for Orc players, I always have to kind of, like, reiterate to them, like, you have Storm Boys, use your Storm Boys in their power melee, which is really good. Ooh. But anyway, which is really good against, super heavy infantry armor, right? So your power melee is really good against the Tyrant Guard in this walking around form. Use your Storm Boys to get him to force him into the shield wall state. Then once he's in shield wall, just leave him alone. Deal with the rest of the army.
Yeah, Tyrant Guards have a brief delay before they can leave shield wall, so it's not like he can pop it up and then unpop it whenever he wants. You have a few, I want to say at least 10 seconds to try to deal with another target before you can get out.
Actually more like 20, but I could be wrong.
That's a pretty sizable delay.
Yeah, even better for the opponent. Force off whatever's giving him the synapse, and then you can just run around him.
Yeah, and Tyrant Guard is something that you can deal with in that fashion usually. So, don't focus on it too much without. I'm going off on a tangent here, big time. But anyway, yeah, basically, again, once Tyrant Guard in this mode, good. Tyrant Guard in the other mode, bad. The other mode needs to be dealt with. This mode doesn't need to be dealt with until everything else is gone. When everything else is gone, and you have anti-vehicle units, then you can attack it. Because if you don't have
Yeah,
anti-vehicle
right.
units, if you don't have anti-vehicle units and you're just attacking this thing, what you're basically doing is you're giving up all this capping time where you could be getting resources that would give you what you need to get AB units to kill it properly. So usually better off just, as long as you have the stuff to force it back into its shell, just let that happen. It's a upkeep drain on the NID too, if it's not doing anything for him. Because
True.
it can't
sure.
cap either. So
I hope I see the Barb Strangler effects. Oh wait, Fire Prism at the same moment. Ooh, tricky decision there. The Barb Strangler effects would allow him to deal with shurikens in the buildings for sure, and a lot of the infantry, but not so much the Fire Prism.
yeah, the Fire Prism would definitely be pretty nice against them. We see the Bright Lance here is still standing pretty tall though. This Tyrant Guard is going for this Shuriken here. This Tyrant Guard can't sustain that. Well, I mean, yeah, kinda can, I guess. Really need more than just one Bright Lance plinking away at this thing to threaten it.
Yeah, for sure.
If the Autark left base, could definitely lend a hand. Just idling units at HQ right now.
Yeah.
Good point. Very good point, actually, because Executioner is power melee. So again, power melee versus super heavy infantry or versus regular heavy infantry is exactly what you want. We're going to see here this Tyrant Guard is going to have to go and shield wall. And now if this Fire Prism brings out Focus Beam, oh no, Tyrant Guard is just dead. Pushed up way too far, no support. And that is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So meanwhile, we do have a Barb Strangler Carnifex, as Lokgar surmised might happen. Oh, the Hive Tyrant's in a bad spot, though. He won't get out.
And map control pretty heavily in the NIT's favor right now. See
Right,
how this
yeah.
swings.
I was paying attention to things you were saying, by the way. I just couldn't speak.
Just coughing a little too much. Alright, yeah, I tried to open up the floor.
No, not even that. More like I literally could not speak.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, my mic was muted because I was coughing like really heavily. But yeah, the Barb Strangler effects is nice. It will allow him to deal with the infantry. He just needs to make sure it doesn't get tied up by the Autark for too long. And the Crushing Claws should honestly be able to chase around the Fire Prism long enough to let the Barb Strangler Carnifex do his job, which is kill everything.
Yeah, and actually, by the way, that's a good point you mentioned about the Autark dealing with the Barb Strangler Carnifex here just by tying it up. So certainly you would say if an Elbar facing a Barb Strangler Carnifex, right, and you have an Autark in the field, don't go Fusion Gun, go Executioner?
Executioner. Yeah, but there's also the idea that the Carnifex could also just get a Thorn back. Power Blade Warpstarter Exarch also.
Well, sure,
actually,
but you can't switch between. Once you have a Carnifex, it's not like Tactical
yeah,
Space
if it's
so.
a Barb Strangler, get out a Executioner. But I wouldn't necessarily just say go Executioner all the time.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that if you're faced
kill.
with a. I'm simply asking, if you're faced with a Carnifex and your standard response might be ooh anti-vehicle, but in this case you're kind of saying actually melee, power melee might actually.
Because your ranged anti-vehicle will be suppressed by the Barb Strangler if it gets a shot off, which means you're not going to do the potential DPS, which you could. Better tie him up and let your infantry be unsuppressed and undamaged, deal with the rest of the NID force, while your anti-vehicle just pounds the Carnifex.
Fire Prism in trouble there.
Yeah, he's got to get away from that Hive Tyrant.
In this situation as Hive Tyrant, would you swap the bonded exoskeleton for his charge armor just to deal with that Fire Prism, or don't even bother?
It seems unnecessary to me because, I mean, the Fire Prism is not a fast vehicle at all. And bonded exoskeleton is going to give you more durability to go ahead and deal with that. Ooh, the Autark, by the way, here just being run into base and sacrificed for no real reason here. I think he just lost control of it, honestly.
That does happen in this game, unfortunately. Back to the charge armor, I would probably say bonded exoskeleton. Fire Prism isn't too fast, and this map I've noticed there's a lot of little charge blockers that you can't always see. Charge in general, I feel, is kind of buggy on the Hive Tyrant just because he's so big. He gets stopped on many things. But the Lictor will definitely help deal with the Fire Prism.
Yeah, let me see. It's right on the little rear armor of that Fire Prism right now. Nice
Yeah,
job
it
of
looks like
Shuriken, though, suppressing it.
It looks like the Fire Prism is on the focus fire too, so he's not doing the knockback.
He was knocking back before, actually, so I'm not sure if he swapped modes or if...
He might have swapped it to deal with the Hive Tyrant.
Because I think the Lictor may have just finished a leap, and you know, like how Assault Space Marines are like unshakable, like right after they finish a leap. I was thinking it might be something like that, but I could be wrong.
Just look at this Barb Strangler shot in this Shuriken. Oh wait, that's not as devastating as I thought it would be. Shenanigans.
Oh, little micro mistake there, moving the Carnifex a little early there, but that is... Oh, that Shuriken just standing around. It will reset up though, alright, with no issue, and we see this War Spider Exarch with the Power Blades here. Going ahead on in here with that 50.
I would just force melee that War Spider Exarch down right now.
Yeah,
with
honestly,
that
wouldn't be that
Carnifex.
big of an issue. But, you know, why bother when the War Spider Exarch is going to retarget the Hive Tyrant in melee anyway?
Indeed. Oh, Lictor. Flesh hook him back. Flesh hook him back now.
Is he going... Alright,
Might
but
be
we have a
bugged out, you
Swarm
never
Lord
know.
coming out anyway, so this is just where the... And an Avatar coming out, but the Swarm Lord's going to hit first, and between the Fex and the Hive Tyrant and the Lictors, and just the overall economic advantage that Thunderhost has here, I'm taking bets on Thunderhost right now.
You never know with the cap and power of the War Spider Exarch, but who knows? Who knows? I don't like to take bets anyway. That's bad. Gambling is bad. Blood and Guts, any thoughts on the situation at hand?
I would definitely like to see more active use of this Bright Lance. He seems to just sit it way in the back, not really actively setting up ambushes for the Carnifex. Could definitely be more proactive in that case.
Yeah, and this Lictor is getting into a perfect position to deal with this Fire Prism. If he's not really paying attention to it, it's going to go down. Especially if it's so focused on the Carnifex.
With
There it
no
goes.
Rangers on the field, though, it is just so tough to figure out where those Lictors are and to adequately deal with them. But
Now the Bright Lance might get it.
Yeah, the Carnifex.
If he used Crack Shot right here, he definitely would have a chance.
Yeah, this would be the perfect
Slow.
situation for Crackshot, but look at this Carnifex barely getting out of range in time.
That is one lucky Carnifex if I've ever seen one.
He's going to have to get back to base and heal up, I do believe. But here comes the Swarm Lord now, and we actually got some Hormagaunts moving with him. So this is where that double Hormagaunt build early on is going to pay off for Thunderhost now that he's got this Speed Synapse. Going to be able to go in and tie up just about everything how he wants to without much issue.
And if the Tyrant Guard was still alive, I believe he gains the speed boost as well. I know
Absolutely,
people were
he does.
complaining about that a lot earlier. And that's just, he's just ridiculous. He's on speed, like, dear God. But the Avatar is out too.
And we see the Life Drain ability here for the Swarm Lord going down. He's going to have to keep himself away from this Avatar. He's going to want to not overextend here, basically. But all he really has to do is use the Swarm Lord, honestly, as a distraction right now, because just look at the victory points.
Yeah. Should probably flesh hook the Warstar Exarch so he can get that cap off.
Or he can just kill him outright. Oh, never mind. He's got to get the... He's got to go ahead and cap the middle now. Come on, Thunder. Idle Lictor! No idle Lictors, no Lictor shall idle. But I do like how he's using the Swarm Lord here. He is just kind of absolutely ignoring this Avatar and just going around and hitting everything else.
And that's going to be GG.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's actually also going to be the last game of the day because it is actually sometime around...
7-ish.
Yeah, we were about 6 minutes from 7, so good game to both players, and we see Thunderhost winning 2 in a row. So I guess that means he wins our King of the Hill if we were having anything kind of formal going on, but...
Yeah, we'll get him a t-shirt.
An
Yay,
imaginary t-shirt. Yay. Or a crown. We should get him. We should give him a crown.
A
Crown
tiara.
for his Hive Tyrant. Yes, we should do that, actually. But yeah, so again, that's probably
I
the last.
guess.
Any questions in the chat for Old Blood and Guts, or any general questions I should ask? I do see that some people did indeed watch the interview with Vindicare X, because I'm hearing some Wheaties references. So no one has any questions for Blood and Guts. You guys sure about that? I call. I call.
Well, if they
stop.
got anything, they could always just swing by either the group chat or the website, as mentioned earlier, projectl2p.com. Shameless plug.
Oh,
So,
feel free. That's what you're on here for. So
yeah, it's all about me. But yeah, projectlearntoplay.com. That's projectl2p. Don't bother spelling it out. No one does it on the internet anymore. Just swing by, ask any questions you got, look for mentors, look for advice, check out our wiki. Just anything you want. We're here to help.
awesome. So we do have one question here. We have so would warp spiders, I'm assuming, have helped out that Eldar? Lokgar?
Warp spiders. The Haywire would have let the Barb Strangler stay in range of the Bright Lance and, ninja capped a lot. And he could have used them to... Against the Hormigons, yeah, because they were ninja capping quite a bit. He could just, pop a few off. But really, the main problem was he let Thunder Host get a ton of requisition early on. He needed to harass his requisition earlier on, because he was able just to get stockpiles, and honestly, when you have that much of a stockpile, there's very little things you can do very quickly that will diminish it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when you looked at that. The other thing too is I felt like he had that huge resource advantage. He got the tier 2, and then he had he built those Guardians. I felt like those Guardians, those probably could have been easily exchanged for Warp Spiders with no issue as far as the economy had, and I feel like those Warp Spiders would have been more useful than those Guardians, particularly because even when he had the Fire Prism, I didn't see him anyway, he didn't repair the Fire Prism with the Guardians at all, right?
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, so it seemed like the Guardians were kind of useful, but not to the point where Warp Spiders wouldn't have excelled in every possible way over them. For a little bit more of an investment, but he got the Guardians, then he got the Autarch, as I recall, and it was kind of like, okay. And then
We did see a little bit of nades, but I think the Warp Spiders might have been just more consistent in general.
Right, well, I mean, the Warp Spiders just kind of sit there with their Death Spinners from range and just go and kind of massacre, Hormigons anyway, so I don't kind of feel... I feel like the Grenade is almost like Warp Spiders already have that, except this is more reliable, as you just kind of mentioned, so... yeah, I would probably say that Warp Spiders instead of that Guardian Squad would have been a much better option, and it would have given a much better, more solid AV to go ahead and deal with the Tyrant Guard and everything else. I think the biggest issue though that Jock had was just the float, the resource float, all throughout Tier 2 and beyond.
Yeah, to be fair, they were both kind of guilty of that.
Yeah, they definitely were both kind of guilty. I just feel like it hurt Jock more.
Yeah, true. He had to make up for lost ground.
Yeah, and I felt like once Thunder started getting a hold of his float, he utilized it very efficiently. Once he got a hold of it.
Yeah, I like the Carnifex a lot, but then again, I like seeing Carnifex in general. They're very nice. But yeah.
So we also had the question about the Falcon, and
I posted a question in chat that Old Blood and Guts would be better apt to answer than I feel like any of us in the Skype conversation thing. It says, does Learn to Play do training events anymore? Haven't seen them on the calendar.
We don't have any on the calendar right now. Occasionally we do. They pretty much happen just spontaneously. Just someone comes in and says, hey, I want to host a game, and then we try to set up the events for them. So most of these things kind of evolve from the chat. So if anyone's looking for these games, just hang around chat. You don't have to always be talking. Just keep an eye open. So.
Alright, yeah, and kind of speaking of that, I believe that the whole kind of been talked a bit for a while, but Game Replays has had this mentor-mentee section and the Dawn of War 2 section that hasn't really done much lately, and Project Learn to Play is kind of just the perfect thing to transition over for that. It just takes the whole idea of the mentor-mentee system, and doesn't necessarily implement it with the mentor-mentee system, but certainly just completely is all things Learn to Play related. So I know Game Replay is. I think Fuse is watching right now, hence why I talk about this. But certainly, I know tonight Game Replay is interested in finally making that transition to actually having Project Learn to Play take care of that for it, or specifically outsourcing to Project Learn to Play.
Yeah, we look forward to cooperating. I mean, we're here to help. Unfortunately, we can't really do, like I said earlier, very structured mentor to mentees. Occasionally, some people come by and say they want to help in that way, and more power to them. But for the most part, it's just, the whole it takes a village mentality. We try to have as many people help as many people as possible, as opposed to just one person helping four others. At the moment, we got around 2K members, and I want to say maybe 100 at best are qualified to be mentors. It would just be impossible for us to help every single person if we were to sort them out to, a few mentees to one mentor. So just don't be afraid to ask anyone.
Just real quick, I do have to say my goodbyes. Time is of the essence for myself, so I'm going to go ahead and say my goodbyes. I'm Lord Lokgar, and I'm going to have to sign out. You two can continue if you would like. But I must
definitely,
leave, unfortunately.
Yep. Later, Locke.
Alright, see you, Lokgar. Thanks for joining us. Awesome cast, as always. So. But, yeah, so we got about 10-15 more minutes. Well, I mean, technically our time is 7, but there's really nothing else on this channel, so, we've got until whenever. But yeah, so you have anything else you want to say about Learn to Play, or does anyone else have any questions about Learn to Play or anything else? I've got a couple more announcements at the end. But,
well, for one thing, Learn to Play, we recently launched a wiki section, and we're looking for any and all submissions people have. Right now, Meteor versus Bunny is our wiki admin. He's the guy to talk to, but if you post a guide in our forum, we would love to put it on our wiki, just get people to vote it on in there and just keep adding. We're looking for community contributions. So,
what kind of content are you looking for in the wiki?
Right now, we're taking pretty much anything. Right now, we have armor types. I believe we have an apothecary 2v2 guide. I mean, anything you feel you're qualified on saying, any kind of guide, a war gear guide, maybe any particular tactic. If you have any videos you might want to make, such as small instructional videos, we'll take those as well. Just really anything that could help anyone learn. Just general information.
I might do some Orc Builder stuff for you.
Yeah, we'd love to have it, and if anyone else wants to, just post on the forum. We'll definitely give you full credit. You'll have Learn to Play's thanks.
Alright, that sounds awesome. So, when dealing with mass ranged mobs, is it better to try and get some melee into it, or just force them off out of position with capping stuff? Now, the answer to that actually is kind of, number one, what tier are we talking about a mass ranged mob being faced in? If we're talking about tier 1, then again, it kind of comes back to race, because some races, like for example, Assault Space Marines, very good at deblobbing ranged blobs, right? Very good at getting in there on that. It's just kind of like, lol, you're blobbing? What? Why would you do that against ASM? Terrible idea.
Yeah.
So certainly it depends on what race, but generally when you usually see ranged mobs, and I think this question is really directed as like tier 2 and such, honestly, artillery is just the best way to go when your opponent that's all they're doing, really. So we're talking like Sick Bombas, Wraith Guard, Blast Masters, Plasma Devastator. Plasma Devastator, by the way, is huge for Space Marines. I really haven't... It was something I saw always used in like 1.9 and pre-Chaos Rising. And then, ironically, the Librarian really should have enhanced its capabilities with like Tomb of Time and stuff. And then it just fell off the map in Chaos Rising, for a lot of players, I felt. And Retribution, it's gotten even worse. But, part of that with Retribution is like, oh my gosh, Land Raider must fast set to Land Raider. The funny thing is you can still fast set to Land Raider with a Plasma Devastator, but I digress.
Yeah, the lack of power cost definitely doesn't contribute to a slower attack, so why not?
Yeah, and that's certainly something that's been talked about a lot, is the lack of power cost on that thing. Which a lot of people don't understand. Admittedly, I don't understand either, but to be honest, the 400 requisition cost is such that it doesn't need a power cost, so... and I guess kind of the power cost for it is if you do get the Librarian, you will be paying 60 power for Librarian and then some amount for Tomb of Time to go with it. But that combination is absolutely awesome and well worth it. So let's see. What else do we have in the chat today? You can take it. So Fused wants to go ahead and vouch for Project Learn to Play being awesome. So everyone, Project Learn to Play is awesome.
Yep, you heard it here first.
And that seems to be about it in the chat. So I guess I'll ask you. I keep doing this where I like, ooh, we're going to talk about the last. Oh, and wait, never mind. An orcs question for me. All right. I guess I'll wait for that orc question then. While we wait for the question to be typed out, I guess I'll ask you again, OlBloodNGutz, if you have anything else you want to talk about.
Just same old. We're still, the site's fairly new, so we're still working on that. We definitely want people to contribute, and more importantly, we want people to ask questions. We don't want people to be afraid. There are no dumb questions, so just come on in there, ask away. The forum is your playground. So that's pretty much it.
I have a bit of a question for you. You guys have been looking to kind of get a solid stream up for the Game Replays open season, right?
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
So are you guys still looking for? You guys need a cameraman, basically, right? Or
yeah, right now.
Who can stream.
Yeah, right now I have the internet for it, but my computer would just be nothing but black boxes moving occasionally across the screen. So.
Oh, so it'd be like the Farseer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, she got fixed, but you know, I hear they're actually the Lehman Russ is apparently a black box now too. So.
Yeah, I saw there's like a small clipping error. You can see a tiny box inside the Lehman Russ, so it's not that noticeable. If they patch that and destroy replays again, I'll be kind of peeved, personally.
I don't know. It doesn't technically destroy replays, but you know, there is the hack. We have that up on the Game Replays portal, by the way, because we had an issue where it's basically the day after the Game Replays Open Season Tournament B, like, we get this patch, and we're like, oh no, we have like thousands of replays we just uploaded which are useless, and then we're like, okay, let's go ahead and just tell everyone how to fix this situation. So, that's up on the main page of the Game Replays Dawn of War 2 section. But, yeah, so basically, if anyone is watching this and you're able to stream, get in contact with OlBloodNGutz, get in contact with me, because certainly we would, I know Game Replays would love to really have a functioning Learn to Play stream, and I'm sure everyone else would too. Get to hear OlBloodNGutz being awesome. So, anyway, so getting back to that question, Clovermite's friend feels that orcs don't have any tier 1 melee options, feels that everything beats them because of how slow they are. It's not really true. I mean, sluggas are still good. You just have to work on getting them there. I mean, basically, it's a matter of using your hero, using abilities. Like, for example, Commando Knob has Hide the Boys. Hide the Boys on sluggas is amazing. I'm sure it's been said 1,000 times, but it's worthwhile saying it again. It is an amazing ability. But, you know, you do have to balance Hide the Boys against whether or not you want Commandos in Tier 2, because if you want Commandos in Tier 2, Hide the Boys is probably not the greatest idea. Simply because, you know, it will eat up your bread for that. But, you know, you also have big shooters. You can aim in what stats things and suppress them, allow your sluggas to move in without tons of range fire just tearing them apart. You also have, in fact, Ludas now are another viable option. Again, just suppressing range, suppressing units, and you know, when you get units suppressed, it's not, they don't do any less damage in melee, but they do less damage from range, therefore doing less damage on approach. And you know, sluggas will beat most units in melee except for like banshees, basically. Like, against Eldar, I would not recommend going more than one slugga, but that's me. I've seen players attempt as many as 4 sluggas against Eldar, but yeah, actually against Imperial Guard, there are some cheesy builds where you can go 3x sluggas and Luda and just totally dominate, because you basically use the Luda to suppress everything they have, and the Catechins have to use their All-Reliable and stuff on your Luda, and then your sluggas actually can overwhelm Catechins in melee. It seems impossible, but it actually is very doable, particularly when you get Burnas on them. And of course, Storm Boys are one of those things where you've got to be really careful with them, because they are, on one hand, your greatest, just absolutely these really great beastly assets, and on the other hand, they're not incredibly like fragile. They actually have a decent amount of health per model, a decent amount of squad health and stuff, right? And they're jump troops, so they can jump out of bad situations. But orcs tend to bleed a lot no matter what you do. And they cost 400 requisition, 40 power to purchase, and then they cost 40 requisition and 4 power to reinforce. That tends to end up becoming the issue because every time they drop models, it delays your tech, and orcs typically can't afford that. So you really, really, really need to watch what situations you use them in. They're almost always a good idea against Tyranids. I tend to find, just because they perform well against every Tyranid unit. They perform well against Hormagaunts, they perform well against Termagaunts, as long as they don't get crippling poison too much. But if you have big shooters backing them up, you can cut down on that a bit. And they absolutely wreck warriors. And of course they also wreck Tyrant Guard, which really helps you because Stormboys are one of those units which are really nice against Tyranids, because we talked about this in the cast, where there are some units in Tier 1, like Banshees, and again, the other one that immediately comes to mind would go ahead and be the Stormboys with Catechins as well, probably, now that I think about it. Either way, these are units that just decimate Tyrant Guards. Tyrant Guard is the only thing that Tyranid has in Tier 2 that will force you to deal with anything, and yet you can deal with that in Tier 1. So there's kind of no reason to tech ahead against a Tyranid except for the fact that if they get their Tier 3 early, you're going to be in a bad spot.
Speaking in that vein, if I may ask a question myself,
Sure.
I've had a few orc mentees bring this scenario up to me that in 1v1 they're seeing force commanders with double tacticals and double scouts, saying that it's completely destroying Slugga and Stormboy builds, and they're wondering, is shoot-a-heavy builds really the only option? Do you have any insight into that in terms of T1?
It's kind of one of the things I was afraid of with the Tactical Space Marine buff, and I have not played them enough in the patch from the orc point of view on that to give solid advice on it yet. It's something that I definitely want to work on.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, it may be something where we're gonna have to see Ludas step up and be able to deal with suppress the Tactical Space Marines consistently, but the Ludas allowing.
Yeah, it just it seems to me, given the Luda's weakness at medium and long range, that a simple flank tacticals on either side can end up out shooting the Ludas. I'm definitely keeping an eye on that matchup, but so far it's
sure,
been
but if
pretty unanimous.
Tacticals are flanking, they're de-blobbing a bit, and
Yeah.
that's actually good for orcs in Tier 1. You want them de-blobbed a little bit, because when they're all together, that's when the Space Marine can support everything at once. When they have to de-blob, you can then go ahead and pick one of those sides, right? If they have to go and flank to both sides to try and get outside, the Luda a little bit, get around the edges and not be suppressed by it. When they have to go ahead and do that, you can pick a side and just go for that one, and the other one all of a sudden is then cut off and suppressed.
So do you think we might see some other quick tech to T1.5, maybe quick tech to Ludas, any builds like that, maybe emerging from this? As
I don't
opposed
think
to
there's too much you can do as far as quick tech to, outside of getting Ludas, that is technically early. I always think of Tier 1.5 for orcs and Stormboys because Ludas hadn't been a big option until recently, and it's not like anything changed with Ludas, just like stuff changed with everything else. Like, Imperial Guard existed, and Ludas all of a sudden existed.
Yeah.
But, Beamy Ludas have always been great, but regular Ludas just kind of haven't fit into the metagame until recently, particularly with huge nerfs across the board to all sorts of other orc units. Like, Sluggas aren't necessarily as viable as they had been because of the lack of melee heavy now on the knobs, so they don't scale as well in the Tier 2.
And the knob's still more expensive than it used to be, so that's definitely a nerf.
Yeah, and the Stormboy knob also losing that again hurts Stormboys. Like, you could justify them a little better before by being like, alright, I get some AV out of this, like when the Blood Crusher comes out, then I have the Stormboy knob and whatever AV I field, and the Stormboy knob doesn't do a ton alone, and standing up against the Blood Crusher, but when I combine that with the AV, it's just enough to force the Blood Crusher to go, I don't want to engage there.
Yeah.
But without having those now, it really does hurt just across the board, and it kind of shifts your priorities to having to get to Tier 2 a little faster. And Relic tried to fix some of this with the tank busta cost change to only be requisition. The issue I have with that is the tank buster is incredibly inefficient in requisition costs, and honestly, the rate at which orcs need to get to tier 2, they're hurting more for requisition to get that tank buster out and to get their other forces out than they are for power. The power was never much of an issue. The issue with tank busters has always been their upkeep is horrible. I don't know if you've actually looked into it at all, but I've made walls of text on it. Their upkeep is 3.4 per population. So even though it's only 40.8 requisition per minute that's lost overall in the entire squad, but you actually work out like what that costs you at an equivalent population figure to other builds. Like, so for example, if I got Ludas instead of tank busters, it just becomes really, really significant, and particularly later in the game as you get like bigger and bigger force compositions, where you will be hitting like max population and stuff. When you get to that point, like that's when it just really comes in like a truck, because they are like about 0.95 or 0.85 requisition per minute above standard upkeep, which is very, very high. So they hurt your economy worse than Terminators do. A single squad of tank busters will hurt your economy worse than Terminators. So
yeah, and you typically need more than one to handle any of the series vehicles.
Yeah, well, honestly, that's why I would always say at worst get a Beamy Luda and Tank Buster, but never, ever 2 Tank Busters if you can avoid it. It's just always a bad idea. I mean, honestly, your best route as far as if you want to do like a 2x Tank Buster for vehicles is to not go 2x Tank Buster, but to get a Weird Boy, get Warpath, and use increase the speed bonus from Warpath to boost your Tank Buster's capability to kite. And or the cheaper option for that is War Truck and Tank Buster. Again, it all requires a lot of micro, but it saves your macro so much. But again, I'm not quite sure exactly like a lot of the levels that you guys are at. Sorry, I don't mean to use that derisively. I really, really, really don't.
No, they understand.
Yeah, but I just mean, for now, okay, like 2x Tank Busters may be alright, because you saw the kind of requisition float and all the kind of economic issues we had in the games today, were actually wasn't as bad as I'd expected, so that's definitely a huge positive for all the players who participated. Nonetheless though, but you kind of saw the upkeep may not make the biggest difference in these kinds of games at this kind of level, so the 2x Tank Buster for now may work out alright for you, and that may be fine because you really want to start out by just kind of getting a good feel for the 2x Tank Buster micro, just kind of getting the proper kiting micro down, and then the Weird Boy and the War Truck style stuff, that's the really advanced kiting, and that's the stuff where you're going to need like a lot of micro and a lot of attention on that, so just getting the more basic form of kiting down first, probably the good way to go actually.
True. Yeah, another thing I see a lot of newer orc players do is using the Tank Buster Barrage for just simple disruption. I would definitely advise them against doing that. You can waste so much red just using it when you don't need to. Just get a proper suppression counter, flank, use a War Truck. Just don't use your Barrage for that.
You can in certain situations, it's a tool to be used, but yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's not
a
good choice, but when they overuse it, you find yourself completely out of red.
Use it very limitedly. That 48 red cost is absolutely draining. Like you just simply are not able to sustain that throughout the game and use all your other red consuming abilities, and those are all very important abilities too. I mean, it will really hurt your knob usage, it'll hurt getting additional commandos out and such. So
absolutely. Any more questions from the chat?
Yeah, any tips of how to improve your observation over the map and units to reduce the chances for getting units? The absolute best thing you can do as far as like units, right, just keeping mind of them, is, again, this is kind of one of those like APM improvers, but I found one of the things that actually, the expert computers are not terrible like in Dawn of War 2. They are horrible at winning the game, but they are awesome at improving your micromanagement, is what it comes down to. So one of the great things to do is, if you don't want to get into an actual game and do it, if you want to just get into a bunch of games against expert computers, and just kind of make sure every one of your squads is. Personally, I have them on separate number keys because you can do that in Dawn of War 2, like because you're not managing so many units that you have to have them grouped and stuff. So each hero, each unit is on a separate number key for me. That's just how I micro. That may not be how you micro, but it may be a good idea if you're having issues with that to go ahead and do that kind of setup, and then to just constantly, every single spare second, if you're looking at the screen at the same piece of terrain for more than 3 seconds, press a number key twice and just snap to a squad. Just keep doing that, like, constantly. You just want to keep snapping to different squads, see what's up with those squads. 'Cause that's the absolute best way, and that's how you basically figure out whether something's going to get squad wiped by an Autarch or not.
Yeah, there's a micro exercise. I don't want to take credit for this. I know I read this on a forum way back when, back in like 1.2, but I have a few of my mentees do this, and they've improved markedly from it. Is you start up a game on a Seawall Frontier, you take the player 1 spot, and you say, let's say you're Space Marines, you're opening scout. You want to have them rounding the rock formation by your own power. Don't shift Q, just keep having them move in a circle around that rock and continue to play versus the expert AI with all your other squads. And if you ever idle that 1 scout, you pretty much lost. You just want to keep that scout moving. So this forces you to split your attentions and just keep going back and forth from squad to squad and keep micro up.
And you're not allowed to shift click on that, by the way.
Yeah,
either.
no shift clicking. Just keep them moving. Just constantly move them. You want to definitely keep using your hotkeys. Just control group right back to them. Give another move order. Control back to your main force. Cap, attack. Go back to your scouts. Keep them moving. It really helps a lot. Helps your awareness and just helps your key motions.
So yeah, that's definitely another thing you can do, and or that in tandem with both. So. Yeah, I mean, the other thing that, I come from a background of StarCraft Brood War, and Brood War is incredibly unforgiving with all of that. Like, you have to learn, like, certain micro techniques in that way in order to play the game.
Yeah.
So, from that background, it made it really easy in Dawn of War 2 for me, so, there's always the option of going ahead and playing a really brutal game like that. StarCraft 2 won't help you nearly as much. It's just too friendly on the interface support side of things until you get to the point where you're like very pro level. I don't find StarCraft 2 to be kind of a game where you sit and it really taxes your multitasking to any degree worse than Dawn of War 2 does. Dawn of War 2 is actually pretty brutal on that too. You tend not to see as much APM in Dawn of War 2, but you tend to see a lot more I'm gonna say like visual observation, right? Like you're not ordering units around as much, but you are moving your camera around at least as much, if not more. So, and then I think just at the highest levels of play for Dawn of War 2, I've said this before, I'll say it again, the reason why we don't see the APM counts at the highest levels of play for Dawn of War 2 be really even close to StarCraft 2 or Brood War, well, I don't think anything's ever really going to equal Brood War. Because Brood War has so many inherent limitations that it makes itself a very athletic game by its nature. But as far as like StarCraft 2 would be a more modern competitor for that, right? It's just actually literally that I don't think that the highest levels of Dawn of War 2 play yet have kind of developed the need for it. Like, the best players there's still room in the strategic area of things where like your strategy can be so much better that the execution, while important, is not so important yet that it's pushing the APM up, right? To kind of make the execution have to be tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. That's really when you see APM start shooting up in a game, is when the strategies are, get to the metagame becomes relatively well formed, and then it becomes a lot about execution when standard strategies are employed. But let's see what other questions we have. We're going to go another 10 minutes at most, so let's see, I'm not quite sure where exactly the conversation went off to now. Other than Fuse making a lol comment that is totally wrong. There was a question earlier about why orc abilities use red, and I just want to touch on that really quickly. Orcs passively generate red at, I believe, 0.25 per second, something like that. So orcs get red without having to actually kill anything. That's one of the reasons why their abilities use red. The other reason is because it's fluffy. Now, granted, orcs tend to not really generate as much as they use, like, ever, so you do have to, like, kill and whatever else, but it is another function of their economy. It's just one of the things that makes them unique. And it is kind of like one of those blessing and curse sort of things, because, for example, consider the Commando Squad. It has smoke bombs, infiltration, and burner bombs using energy from the Commando Squad itself. And then it has Love the Daka as a red ability. So because Love the Daka is a red ability, what actually is interesting is it draws from a different resource pool than the rest of the abilities on the Commando Squad, right? So you can basically think of energy as a local resource to the Commando, and then you have red, which is a global resource not local to the Commando squad, but nonetheless, the Commando Squad will draw from both for different abilities. So let's say I want to infiltrate and burn a bomb, right? Very common combination then is to go ahead and use Love the Daka after that. Well, infiltration, I believe, costs like 10 to start up, and then it drains at about 1.5 energy per second, or something relatively significant. So you can't stay infiltrated for very long. So you go use the infiltration to get in position, then you throw the burner bomb, which itself costs 40 energy, and by the time you've done all of this, you're probably down to about 20 energy at most. You don't have very much energy left. So if Love the Daka were given any kind of sensible energy cost, it would probably cost at least 40, 50, maybe 60 even energy. But it doesn't. It costs red. And so what basically ends up happening is that you can all of a sudden very easily go ahead and toss that burner bomb down, and now go ahead and use Love the Daka by drawing from that other resource pool, and boom. So you do get some benefits out of it in that sense. You know, for example, again, as well, like some of the other abilities, although, like, for example, Sick Bombers, again, don't have, like, this constraint where, like, Stun Bomb costs 60 energy and Sick Bombs cost 60 energy, right, which a lot of other races would do that. Like, you know, for example, Catechins, now you cannot any longer, since 3.14, utilize Explosive Shot and Old Reliable one after the other. You have to wait because of energy costs. Sick Bombers can go ahead, if you have the red for it, they can go ahead and use Stun Bomb and Sick Bombs one right after the other. So there are some benefits from it. There are some drawbacks, which is like, for example, aiming what's that uses red. It's just the only ability the unit has. There would be no downside to having to use energy or just being on cooldown, but it uses red, so it's a straight up downside. But, you know, well, actually it has WOG too, so WOG using red is kind of interesting. But anything on that, Old Blood?
Not much. A bit of a balance concern on my part is the battle wagon. I think the red costs are just abnormally high.
Yeah,
that,
they are.
You know, without the abilities, it's even worse unit, and that the abilities are so constrained to the red. I think that's definitely something Relic needs to take a look at.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree there. Actually, there was an interesting suggestion in the forums recently that other super units, particularly like the Baneblade, like its main cannon, should be tied to red.
Yeah.
Which is not, there's no real precedent for that outside of Orcs, because Orcs passively generate it, but like something like the Battle Wagon is, in my opinion, a precedent, because it requires so much red to operate normally, right?
Yeah.
That it's not just, like, to use its abilities is not normal operation of its abilities, and it's not like its abilities are so superior to anything else that they should require red, whereas the Baneblade's main cannon will just destroy a tank in one hit.
Yeah, it's pretty much a mini nuke, and yeah, I definitely think the battle wagon's tied down by a few things, the red cost being one, and the 4-squad garrison being the other, just to bring all the weapons online. Just seems a bit a tad overzealous on Relic's part to make those prerequisites.
Yeah, honestly though, I still like the Battle Wagon. I don't feel it's a proper super unit. Like, I feel it's just a very solid tier 3 vehicle. At the moment is basically where it is. It complements certain force compositions incredibly well. And, you know, it's just kind of one of those things. I feel like I end up overpaying for it when I get it, and I end up waiting too long. But I can make it pay off. And that's all that really matters to me in the end, even if it is a little underpowered in some respects, you know, because of its cost and whatever else. I can make it pay off, and do make it pay off oftentimes, but, you know, it is one of those issues. I would love for Relic to look into it, because I do believe it is contributing to some work issues, particularly late game.
Yeah, right now you play in a team game, and let's say your Commissar Lord friend says, I got a Baneblade coming out, suddenly your team has, you know, renewed hope. Then your Orc player says he has a battle wagon coming out, and everyone's looking at him like he's a retard. Like, what the hell are you doing? Get more knobs. Just, I don't know. I think it's kind of hurting right now.
Yeah,
I mean, it just doesn't have the same effect.
It doesn't, but part of it is too. It's certainly the super unit I think that requires the most finesse right now.
Yeah,
Even
without
more
a
so
doubt.
than the Great Unclean One. The Great Unclean One probably be second just because of how much worship you really need to make it useful. Which I'm perfectly fine with, by the way. I don't have an issue with how much worship the Great Unclean One needs to make him useful. But, you know, uh,
On that note, if I can take that tangent, what would you say the Great Unclean One is meant to counter? I mean, if you bring it out, what target priorities would you give it, if any?
I would basically say the Great Unclean One there is a damage sponge, honestly. That is the essence of Nurgle, right? I mean, it's just kind of the ultimate damage sponge is what I always view the Great Unclean One as.
It just
Uh,
seems to drop like a stone, in my opinion. It goes down just as easily as an avatar, just
yeah,
given the
that's unfortunately.
limitations.
I think that's the one thing they could definitely buff his health, and I think he would be fine. Because they kind
Yeah,
of nerfed his health when they were trying to balance the Great Unclean One and the Audark, in Chaos Rising. And I feel
yeah.
like now with
Avatar, you
Retribution,
mean?
right, and I feel like with Retribution out, they could certainly push his health up a little more, and he would still be alright. I mean, part of the issue, though, is, like, for example, Orcs have a much tougher time dealing with the Great Unclean One than other races because they have no snare, whereas any race with a snare has a relatively easy time dealing with the Great Unclean One. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where they may need to look at. I would really love to just have like a balance mod or balance test patch or something where the Great Unclean One was unaffected by snares. It would either
Speaking of
be.
snares, given that
Oh,
it's super heavy infantry,
yeah.
shouldn't Warp Vomit work on that, or is that not the case?
I have not observed it to be the case, but um, it would be worth. No, actually, wait, what is it? Yeah, actually, I think it may, but as far lacking last, it's not a consistent snare even then. I guess is the point.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Honestly, like it's something where I rarely get into that situation where I really need to go in with a weird boy and use it. It's usually either I have the knobs to deal with it or I don't have the knobs to deal with it.
True.
But I have to commit my knobs to it. Tends to be the issue. Whereas if I had a consistent long-range snare like on the Beamy Ludas, not that I necessarily want that snare on the Beamy Ludas, right? But if I had such a snare on the Beamy Ludas or something like with the Dwarf Spiders where you can teleport in Haywire and get, GTFO, that is, not as bad of an issue there. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, so I believe maybe take one more question and then we will get ready to wrap this up. So is there another question here? So I'm gonna go ahead and check this. Yeah, they are a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
it's been happening the whole time, so it's fine.
Sorry about that.
It's quite fine. So anyone else have any other questions? Because if not, we're just gonna go ahead and wrap this up then. What about Synapse? That is a much bigger question than we have time to answer. It hasn't gotten changed recently. It got changed in Chaos Rising. He's asking about Synapse for Tyranids. That is something, actually, I would hope maybe that would be something you guys get up on your wiki. Would be a really great thing. So, actually, that would be a question I forward to you, OlBloodNGutz, to go ahead and maybe put out a community effort for Learn to Play to go ahead and get a proper wiki entry on that up, because I do get that question a fair bit, and it is something that takes a little bit to explain. So it's
The effects of Synapse or the evolution of it from previous versions?
kind of like both. Just I think primarily what most people are concerned about is what Synapse does right now.
Yeah.
For each unit. So for range Synapse, for basic Synapse, for melee Synapse, for health Synapse and the Zoanthrope. So I think all of that stuff is what people want to hear about, and I think they would love to hear about it on your wiki if you could.
Yeah, that's done easily enough. We can get that up.
All right, awesome. So that will be the last question. So thank you very much, OlBloodNGutz, for joining us today. We got to do this again sometime. I definitely
Yeah, absolutely. I'm game. And thank you for having me.
Oh, no
Learn to Play
problem.
is always glad to help.
Definitely.
And we're glad to take the help, for that matter.
We're glad to promote one of the just one of the most helpful efforts for Dawn of War 2. You really can't have a community without some method of growing the community, and Learn to Play is just the front line of that effort. So thank you very much for all that you do with that, and have a great day.
Absolutely. You too, man. Take care.
See you later, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, just 2 more announcements. I wanted to reiterate the announcement about the Relic Developer Battle coming up on Friday. It's going to be between... I'm not going to announce it yet. But it will be Apothecary versus Tyranids, so you'll want to tune in for that. It's going to be on Seawall Frontier, Greentooth Gorge, and Craft World, a map you may not have heard of. But it is a custom community map. It's one that I like a fair bit. It's a little different, a little interesting, and we'll see exactly how the Relic developers feel playing on it. And we're really, really looking to see in this developer battle from kind of our more analysis-oriented perspective. We're not just looking to throw out the developers and hang them out there to dry. We really want to see what their kind of like metagame is for the Tyranid versus Space Marine matchup, because I kind of have this hunch that, you know, with the developers being able, you know, balance testers, right, play testing all their builds and trying to get a feel for this and that, they do a lot of internal play alongside the ladder play they do, and I kind of feel like they've got maybe this different sort of metagame that we're going to see really come to light in this developer battle, as opposed to constantly chucking the developers against the community, which is what we usually see, which I feel is maybe just a clash of 2 completely different metagames, maybe one more evolved than the other, but nonetheless, always awesome to see where the developers are and what they're thinking. And maybe it'll give some of us new ideas on exactly how to use units and how to play the matchups out. So definitely tune in for that on Friday. Again, starting at 5:30, same channel, same place, all the time. And other announcement is game replays, open season, tournament C signups. We're going to go up today at noon. Unfortunately, I wasn't around to make sure that they went up. But because the reason why they didn't go up, I mean, it's not an issue where the staff is just being negligent there. The issue is actually that it was brought to our attention that April the 22nd is Good Friday and April the 24th is Easter, meaning that we need to push the tournament back a week. So there was a little bit of question about whether or not we should put the signups up today. And unfortunately, I wasn't around to definitively answer that question with a yes. Give some extra time for signups too, but just because there's extra time doesn't mean you guys should wait. We are expecting like just the biggest sign up we've had yet by far. We're expecting it to fill up. Like, we had over 100 people last time. I've already talked to like 12 plus people who didn't participate last time who are throwing their hat in the ring this time, and that's just who I've talked to. And I know that we're doing a much bigger advertising effort and everything to really get the word out and get people to sign up, register, participate in this big event. So certainly you guys will want to go ahead to gamereplays.org and go ahead and view that when that is all up and ready. I believe the signups may already be up there. Fused, if they are, can you pop everyone a link in chat? You would be like my awesome, amazing person. If you could do that, I'll have to allow links for you. Okay, links are already allowed, yay. So, but anyway, yeah, so Game Replays Open Season #1, Tournament 3, signups should be up latest tonight. I will like work on that immediately after I stop this, so they will be up, don't worry. They will be up within 15 minutes, I guess is the best way to put this. Get over to Game Replays, register if you want to play. If you don't want to play, we'll have casting information up a lot sooner this time around, so that's also kind of awesome. And yeah, so developer battle this Friday, Game Replays Open Season tournament signups today. They're not up. Alright, I will make sure they're up within 15 minutes. Or actually, Fused, there's basically a little thing in the staff area. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. So they'll be up within 15 minutes. I'll post an announcement on the Game Replays group for you guys. The Steam group, if you guys aren't part of that, really great idea to be a part of it. Just it's gr-dow2 if you want to search for it on Steam. But go ahead and post up an announcement for that. And Fuse is heading off, so anyway, it's fine. But anyway, so yeah, I will go ahead, like I said, I'll get that up. So that's going to be up tonight within 15 minutes. We're also going to have the tournament itself is going to be, it's going to be the week after the 22nd, so April 29th through April 31st, or no, there is no April 31st, through May 1st. Okay, there we go. That is when we're going to be looking at holding the tournament. So that's when you're going to be looking to participate in. And let's see, what did Fuse link to? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be in the general discussion section, and I'll probably post a news post that maybe links to it and such. And, like I said, so sign up tonight, and the tournament will start on the 29th, and Developer Battle this Friday. I believe that's all the announcements I've got for this daily. Be sure to tune in Friday. That is going to be an absolutely amazing, awesome sauce daily. Tell your friends, have everybody watch, because you will not want to miss it. It is going to be a Relic Developer extravaganza of epic, awesome proportions. So until then, I will see you guys later. This is 5-Star General signing out.